Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to be focusing on conditional statements in JavaScript. So to get started, if you can go ahead and go into your project folder, let's go ahead and go into the 23-conditionals folder, and then in the start subfolder, if you can go ahead and open up main.js. Then in your browser, if you can go ahead and open up the index.html page that's in the start subfolder, you should see conditionals on the web page. So conditional statements are used when you want to perform different actions based on different decisions in your code. So for example, if we go back to our shopping cart example, oftentimes websites will offer free shipping if you have a certain dollar amount in your shopping cart. So we may have a condition that will check to see if our cart total is over, let's say, $25, then we would offer free shipping to the consumer. And so to do things like this in our code, we use special keywords in JavaScript, and these keywords are if, else, else if. There is another conditional called a switch statement. However, we will be covering that in a different lesson. In this lesson, we'll be focusing on if, else, and else if. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and stick with our cart total example. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make a new line. Let's go and do let cart total, and we'll go ahead and set it equal to 10. So we'll say our current cart total is $10. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do let shipping. I'm going to set that equal to $5. So right now in our current example, if a customer were to check out with their current cart total, it'd be $10. We want them to have at least $25 before we give them free shipping. So because it's not met, we'd want to charge them an extra $5. So to keep track of all of this, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a new variable, and I'm going to go ahead and call this total, and I'll go ahead and set it equal to 0 for right now. So for our example, we're just going to say we only have one type of shipping, so I'm going to go ahead and change our shipping variable to a const. So our shipping will always be $5. So in order to update our total, we know we could just add our cart total and our shipping together, and this would allow us to calculate our total. So to do that, we're just going to go ahead and do total equals cart total plus shipping, and I'm going to go ahead and console log our total. So go ahead and save really quick and refresh, and we should see that 15 is logged to our console. So now that we know how we're going to calculate our total, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our conditional statements. So we know that if their cart total is over 25, then and only then we want to add shipping to our total value here. And so to check for this, we'll use our if statement. So our if statement starts with the keyword if, and then we have an open and closing parentheses, followed by some curly brackets. So inside the parentheses, this is where we add the condition that we're going to be checking. And so this condition will be a statement. So what we want to do is we want to know if our cart total is greater than or equal to 25. So if our cart total variable is greater than or equal to 25, then we want to go ahead and execute this line of code here. So what we would do is we'd say total will equal just our cart total. And then we'll go ahead and console log our total here, and we'll go ahead and save and refresh. So because our statement evaluates to false, our if block never actually runs. So what happened here is because our statement, so our cart total is greater than or equal to 25, evaluates to false, this if block of code, all of the lines inside our brackets are never ran. So that's why our total is never updated to just be our cart total. If we did want this line of code to execute, what we could do is let's go ahead and update our cart total to be 30. And if we go ahead and save and refresh, you'll see now that our new total is $30 because this line of code went ahead and ran. I'm going to go ahead and revert this back to 10. So next, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the else keyword. So the else statement is used to specify a block of code that you want to be executed if the condition from our if statement is false. So we're going to do else, and then we'll do our brackets, and then in here we could do our total equals our cart total plus our shipping. So then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to go ahead and remove this line of code here, and I'll go ahead and save and refresh. And so you'll see right away our total starts at 0. And because our if statement evaluates to false, we come down to our else block and we run this line of code here. So that's how we get our final total. So one thing to know is when you have your if and else blocks, only one of these blocks will run. So if this is true, only the if statement will run. If this is false, only the else block will run. So this is how you can have conditional logic. If you have some type of logic that you want to rerun no matter what, then you wouldn't want to place this inside the else block. Instead, we want to place that outside our else block. So for example, our console log. We want this to run regardless if this statement is true or false. So real quick, what we're going to do is we're going to change this to if else. Let's go and get rid of this line of code here. And our next statement we're going to take a look at is our else if statement. So your else if statement can be used if you want to check for another condition to test if this first condition is false. So for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this here. I'm going to place it down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do else if our opening bracket and our closing bracket. And then we need to add our parentheses for our statement that we want to check. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and so what I'm going to do, so I'm going to copy this line of code here. And then what we'll do is we're just going to go ahead and change this to 10. And then inside our block here, what we'll do is we'll just say total will equal cart total. And then we'll just say +2 for an example. And let's go ahead and copy our console log total down here. And then what we should do is we should go ahead and reset our total back to 0 so that we can see our logic working. So if we go ahead and save and refresh, we can go ahead and see what happens. So currently our cart total is set to $10. And because our total is not greater than or equal to 25, this if statement does not run. We immediately transition to our else if statement. And we do a check to see if it's greater than or equal to 10. Because this is true, this line of code runs, and the rest of our else, and then our else block does not run. So you'll see in here in the example, we took our total and we just set it equal to our cart total +2, and that's how we ended up at 12. So else ifs are great because it allows you to specify other conditions that you want to test. And then finally, you can specify an else block, which will only run if none of these conditions ever evaluated to true. What's really cool about the else if is we can specify as many as we want. So what we could do is I could go ahead and copy this here and paste it here. And then I could go ahead and change this, for example, to 11 and make this one 10. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to a 1. So if we go ahead and save and refresh, we should still get 12 because this line of code did not run. However, you can see that first we ran this line of code, then we did this statement. However, you'll see that first we evaluated this, then we evaluated this statement, and then finally we evaluated this statement. So one thing I do want to call out is you can write your if statements without your opening and closing brackets. So for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take our total here. I'm going to go ahead and paste that down here. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy these lines of code right here really quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take total, and I'm going to go ahead and place it on this line up here and get rid of our closing bracket. And the same thing with our else statement. I'm going to do total and get rid of that closing bracket. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a console log so we can go ahead and take a look at our total. So if we go ahead and save and refresh, you'll see our total does get updated to be our cart total plus our shipping. What's happening here is when this statement evaluates to true, then the code following our if block will go ahead and run and execute. Same thing with our else block here. However, it is recommended if you are going to use curly brackets for your if and else statements that you should utilize them for all of them, even simple one-line statements like this. It just helps keep your code clean and consistent, and can also help you make your code easier to read.